What's your information about what has happened this morning in terms of these explosions?
What we've seen throughout the night was a huge range of attempted missile strikes and drone strikes across Ukraine, which I think anticipated with the events of yesterday and the Kremlin's claim that you hit the Kremlin with a drone. No major damage reported this morning, which means that Ukrainian air defenses have been working. Obviously, all of this comes in the run up to a long anticipated counteroffensive by the Ukrainians. So I think it's safe to assume that the Russians have been testing Ukraine's air defenses, if not indeed trying to exhaust their supplies of air defense missiles that they could use.
Now, Ukraine has not claimed responsibility for any strikes on Russian soil, but is there any evidence of Kyiv ever striking outside its borders?
There's plenty of evidence that they've tended to be cross-border strikes on targets that were much closer to the Ukrainian border. Whoever did launch this drone strike at the Kremlin, I think it's safe to say that it could not have originated on Ukrainian soil. It doesn't seem credible to me, at least, that a drone could have made its way from the Ukrainian across the Ukraine and all the way to Moscow interception. So I think if indeed this was a real strike and not a false flag operation, it's much more likely that came from within Russia itself, and that doesn't rule out Ukraine's hands in it. It just makes it more likely that it came from somewhere rather closer to Moscow.
Mm. If it was a false flag attack, what is the kind of thinking behind that? How would that unfold for President Putin?
Well, we know that Russia was prepared to launch quite a few false flag attacks in the run up to the initial invasion, and the fact that they didn't do so has a lot to do with the fact that those plots were exposed by Western intelligence before they had a chance to be undertaken. So there was a lot of talk from Russia that Ukraine was going to launch some sort of chemical attack, or that it was hosting some, evil, malevolent Western biolab project on its soil. Each of those scenarios was exposed by Western intelligence before it could actually happen. This attack, were it a false flag, is different, but the timing would certainly chime in with the fact that Russia is increasingly nervous about the prospect of losing territory to Ukrainian forces who are about to launch into this counteroffensive,
Mm.
which also relies critically on Ukraine being able to reach behind Russian lines and target supply lines and the kind of areas that are sustaining the frontline effort for Russia.
Mm. What else do we know about this spring counteroffensive? What I find quite bizarre, I suppose, about this, these kind of milestones or these particular days that we have. For example, what Russia might do on the 9th of May, anniversary of Victory Day, the spring counteroffensive, is that they're all obviously flagged up. Do things always happen when people say they're going to happen?
That's a great question, Asman. Don't. It's actually, I think, the Russians who are more closely wedded to these sort of symbolic dates like Victory Day. They tend to take some kind of offensive action on a significant day. The Ukrainians much less so. For the Ukrainians, the spring counteroffensive is really something they've been building towards because of the weather here, which might sound peculiar. Experience what the muddy season can be like in Ukraine, and
Yeah, we're just losing Catherine a bit there. It might be interesting to hear that last answer, actually. So we will maybe just try and reconnect with her. But it's just been a kind of a feature, hasn't it, really, of the war, this idea? Because remember about the mud and how, not much can happen in the muddy season. And obviously, spring, that's their window.
It also reminds you that this is very much an old-fashioned war. It's like the First World War, where offences and counter-offences are in the air. They're not surprises. They're something that you plan for and discuss, because it's a slow-moving, old-fashioned war on the ground.
Yeah, I think we can speak to Catherine again. Catherine, we're just really interested to hear the end of your answer, really, this idea of the war in Ukraine and the fight back being dictated by the weather. Oh, dear. Well, obviously, things are communications are quite difficult, but I think we got the gist of what Catherine was saying there.